Good morning. During a meeting at the presidential office of Cheongwade, President Park Geun-hye calls for regular senior-level talks between the two Koreas. The invisible cloak is a reality. Scientists develop a device that makes even large objects in motion invisible. Dry brushing is set to detoxify and stimulate the skin, removing dead skin and improving circulation. Essential to healthy skincare, get a look at physical exfoliations. And the third installment of Jeonju's guest house experience. This time, they get the royal treatment. Or do they? On Korea Today, Tuesday, October 7th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today on this Tuesday morning. I'm Kim Young alongside Jeonju and Kim Min-jung.
Good morning, everyone. The season has begun for the world's most coveted prizes, the Nobel Prizes, with the announcement of the Nobel Prize for Physiology or Medicine. It was given to the idea, the discovery of the inner GPS of the brain. I'm not going to even try to explain what this is about. Eunice Kim will join us later in the show to try to explain to us what this idea was. Right?
You know, there really is a reason that they get the Nobel Prize, because they are geniuses and they know a lot more than we do. We can try to explain it all we want, but the fact of the matter is that we just don't get it. Right?
They discovered it too.
Now, the announcement of winners in other fields will follow. Next up is the Nobel Prize in Physics, which will be announced on Tuesday, Norwegian time. And the prize for chemistry is set to be announced on Wednesday, and a Korean scientist is up on the list of the candidates for this chemistry prize. So we'll have to look forward to if he wins this prestigious prize.
And the last Korean to receive this Nobel Prize was former South Korean President Kim Dae-jung back in 2000 for the Nobel Peace Prize. So I think it's about time Korea sees another laureate, right?
All right, we'll be looking forward to that. And just like you said, keeping your fingers crossed. We'll be learning a little bit more about that on our international news segment with Eunice Kim, as you just mentioned. But we'll move on to something that we understand a little bit more, to our top story for this morning. Last weekend's visit from North Korea's trio of high-level officials, including Pyongyang's second-in-command, Hwang Byung-seo, set the groundwork for possible senior-level talks later this month or in November. And with that, President Park Geun-hye stressed the need for regular senior-level cross-border dialogue during a meeting at the presidential office of Cheongwade on Monday.
특히 이번 고위급 접촉이 단발성 대화에 그치지 않고 남북 대화의 정례화를 이루어 평화 통일의 길을 닦을 수 있도록 노력해야 할 것입니다.
The president emphasized the agreement to hold the second round of senior-level talks marks a milestone in the improvement of inter-Korean relations. Seoul says reuniting families separated by the Korean War will be one of the issues topping the agenda during the upcoming meeting.
Prosecutors have announced the final results of their investigation into the sinking of the Seoul ferry from back in April and put the blame on a combination of factors, including overloading of cargo, illegal remodeling of the ship, and poor handling of the steersman. The Supreme Prosecutor's Office said Monday the lackluster initial response of the Coast Guard was also to blame for the ferry disaster that killed some 300 people, mostly high school students. Over the 5-month probe, a total of 399 people have been charged in relation to the ferry tragedy, 154 of whom have been arrested, including the captain of the vessel and officials from the ferry operator. Meanwhile, the woman dubbed the gatekeeper to elicit funds of the de facto owner of the sunken ferry is being extradited from the U.S. back to Korea. Authorities hope that she will lead to securing extra funds for recovery expenses incurred from the accident.
Korea's leading businesses have unveiled their investment plans for next year, which will amount to billions of dollars, in a meeting with the Commerce Minister on Monday. During a gathering hosted by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy, Samsung Electronics and 15 other major firms agreed to make investments worth $26.6 billion in total, including new projects to be launched next year. Among the companies, Samsung Electronics said it would start building a semiconductor plant in Pyeongtaek in the Gyeonggi-do province worth nearly $50 $15 billion, with the goal to make it the world's largest. Trade Minister Yoon Sang-jik says the government will facilitate a one-on-one consultation system to remove the obstacles and help companies carry out their investment plans on schedule.
It seems that Harry Potter's invisibility cloak is no longer something that we can only see in fantasy movies. A research team at the University of Rochester has come up with one of the most promising cloaking devices that can hide things in plain sight using simple equipment we can find in our everyday lives. To tell us more about this magic that has now become part of reality, we have online with us Joseph Choi, one of the researchers at the University of Rochester. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Jeonju, for having me.
So this is a very exciting discovery, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers can't wait to learn more about it. So why don't we go straight to how it works? How does it create the illusion?
Right, so basically all we're doing is we're just trying to bend light around an object so you cannot see that. In that case, it would be a hand or a pen or so forth. So what we try to do is basically describe what it means to be invisible. And if you think of something that's invisible, if you place an object in a system that's just made of air in the middle of the room, you won't be able to tell it's there. So that's what the four lenses do, is it mimics air, even though you have lenses, and it bends light around a space where you can put a hand or a ruler or something to make that invisible. So the whole device, the lenses as well as the hand or whatever is being cloaked, they all act as if it's just made of air. So when you place that in the middle of the room, then you can't tell it's there, but it only works for a range of small angles.
Interesting. But this is not the very first cloaking material or device invented. Tell us how it's different from others.
Right, and that's a good question. So I think magicians have been hiding things for a while, but if you talk about scientifically, back in 2006, there were two papers that came out that it's called transformation optics. What they do is they use very high-tech artificial materials to bend light, which is electromagnetic fields, around a space so that that space is cloaked. Now, to actually make that happen, it was very difficult. It's still very difficult to make that three-dimensional work for the whole visible spectrum and to make it for large objects. So then people started looking at ways to do that with what's called ray optics, where you just look at light and you just look at the directions and positions and you try to match those. And so as you can see in the video, we did demonstrate some with mirrors and water tanks where you can cloak large objects, but they only work for one direction. And what we try to do is then look at ways to make it work for a range of a continuous range of directions, so you can change your viewing angle from side to side and it should still cloak the object with the background still transmitting as if nothing was there. And that's what this device does. It's the first that we know of that does a continuous range of viewing angles, and it can be scalable, it's three-dimensional, and it works for the whole visible spectrum.
So it definitely seems like a major leap forward in cloaking technology. And in what field can we see this cloaking device being used in the near future, perhaps?
Yeah, well, that's very generous of you. We're not sure how great of a discovery this is. It's very simple. If you look in the paper and the math, it's very simple. So hopefully that will encourage others to actually apply this in real life. We think you can use it for the medical field, for example, to hide maybe a surgeon's hand or whatnot, or to actually make things visible. So like your blind spot or immediately behind you, if you're driving a truck, you could be able to cloak the truck behind you so you can see right through it. Or we got a call from an architectural firm that wanted to maybe cloak the one whole building floor. So instead of using glasses to see the outside, you could just build walls and you put lenses around it so that you can cloak the walls. And what that does is it helps save insulation costs because it's a lot cheaper to build walls instead of windows. So those are some of the applications that we think might be viable.
So what is your team's ultimate goal in this project, and how do you see this discovery affecting other fields of science?
Well, we'll have to see, but we're hoping that this will simplify some of the difficulties that have been with cloaking, and also perhaps generate some interest. I think it'd be very nice if we could get some of the kids or students at home to be able to build their own, cloaking device to try out at home. And if they get interested in science, physics, and optics, then I think in the long run, that will actually help the scientific field a lot more than maybe just this device right now.
We hope to see more developments from this device. Thank you for your time, Mr. Choi.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor.
That was Joseph Choi, a researcher at the University of Rochester, on its creation of a new invisibility device. Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, many of the papers this morning feature a variety of angles that reflect upon the high-ranking North Korean delegation's visit to South Korea over the weekend. Now, most of them do welcome the rare visit, looking forward to a new era of dialogue between the two Koreas. We'll go ahead and begin with 중앙일보 for a look at how this is carried here in this daily. The title reads, North Korea's top delegation visit to South is a turning point in bilateral relations. Those are words coming from Chung Jong-wook, the vice chairman of the South Korean Unification Preparatory Committee. And also yesterday, Kevin Rudd, the former Prime Minister of Australia and a distinguished visiting fellow at Chatham House, spoke to some 250 participants at the first J Global Chatham House Forum here in Seoul. And this is him speaking at the inaugural forum taking place at the Westin Chosun Hotel. He said that the entire international community welcomes the recent visit, which is perhaps the highest level of exchange in the last 6 years, adding that this in itself is significant. He also mentioned how much more significant it could be will be determined over time with actions following from North Korea. The Daily has partnered with the Royal Institute of International Affairs, better known as Chatham House, an influential think tank that tackles international policy issues for this forum. And moving on to 동아일보 for a look at a local story now. And this is on working mothers. It's titled, Women with Gaps in Careers Now Become Super Moms. Now, I've talked about the government's push to pursue a system of work hours selection or selective work hours a couple of times here on the show. Now, this means workers at private firms will be allowed to choose their own work hours for reasons like child caring or nursing family members. So you can imagine just how beneficial this system would be, particularly for women who are seeking to balance their lives at work and at home. It does look like the government is doing its very best to support this flexible part-time job system, as the number of regular employees choosing their own work hours has surpassed 10,000 people already. And if you take a look at the image, women who had to quit their jobs for childcare and are trying to re-enter the workforce are now better able to find jobs again to their liking. This woman on the very left smiles as she says she's been enjoying the ability to work again after getting married. She works 6 hours a day at a popular bakery. Now switching gears to Chinese tourists here on 조선일보. We'll take a look at this headline. It says annual 6 million Chinese tourists spend $13 billion in Korea. Now, Chinese tourists flocked to the country during their week-long national holiday running through last week. They injected new life into the long-abandoned airports in Korea, and this is at the Incheon International Airport yesterday morning. Countless Chinese tourists are departing the country to return home after their break. Now, just throughout this recent national holiday, 160,000 Chinese had come to visit Korea. And if we take a look at this graph, the number of Chinese tourists entering the country has been on a drastic increase. In fact, a huge jump compared to just 710,000 people back in 2005 to an estimated 6 million this year. And lastly, onto the Mail Business newspaper for the top story on 전세. Now, this is called Skyrocketing 전세 Prices. Homes in Gangbuk areas reached $600,000. So 전세 refers to a lease system in which a tenant pays a large lump sum deposit for typically a 2-year rental period of an apartment. And these housing prices have been on a continual increase here. Quite shockingly now, the 전세 deposit in the Gangbuk district, which is the metropolitan area north of the Hangang River, is nearing up to $600,000 for an 84 square meter apartment, which is very expensive considering that this area is known to be relatively cheaper than the Gangnam area south of the river. Now, if we do take a look at this graph as well, the prices are at their highest peak ever. As you see, they've been growing at a relentless pace since January this year.
And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Tuesday. Now following are the stock numbers from Monday.
The morning is off to a very chilly start here in Seoul and even more so in the mountainous Gangwon-do province.
Yep, we are seeing temperatures that are nearing zero or even below in some areas. Now, one of the things is that just a few days ago, I had my air conditioner on during the day, and now this morning I had my heater on.
That's right. Congratulations on that. Well, we'll take a closer look at the weather conditions for today with our Chun Sung-cho, who joins us from a park in Seoul. Good morning to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I'm reporting live from the Yongsan Family Park. Yes, it's another chilly morning where people need to bundle up, especially in the morning and at night. Currently, the temperatures outside here in Seoul are 13 degrees Celsius, similar to yesterday under mostly clear skies. A high-pressure system in the east is bringing gorgeous fall weather to the entire peninsula, but the almost cloudless skies are resulting in big temperature drop when the sun is down. Over in the mountainous areas of Gangwon-do province and the central regions, where leaves have already started to change their hues, people may wake up to frost and freeze as morning temperatures will dip to near zero. And we also have a massive cold air in the upper atmosphere blowing from the north, so temperatures may vary as much as 13 degrees between day and night. Now let's take a close look at the readings. Midday highs stay in the lower 20s all across the country today. Seoul is at 22 and Gwangju is the warmest at 24. Gangneung stays the coolest at 20 degrees Celsius. Enjoy the sun in the afternoon. This is all from me with the weather forecast. Back to you, Minjung.
Let's now get a check on the headlines we're following from around the world at this hour. We'll connect to our Eunice Kim, who joins us from the news center. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Minjung.
Now, the sit-ins that had blocked parts of Hong Kong have significantly shrunk, but protest leaders are now trying to meet with government officials on how to end this deadlock. Do we have any progress on that front?
Very possibly. The two sides did meet for a second time on Monday evening, and it appears protest leaders and the Hong Kong government have reached an agreement, at least on the premises that will govern future talks. Now, those three key principles, according to a Bloomberg report, are that 1, there will be several rounds of negotiations, 2, they'll be held on equal footing, and 3, the results of the talks will be confirmed and implemented by the government. The negotiations could begin as early as this week. This as most of the demonstrators who had jammed the territory's major streets returned to school and work on Monday. Government offices were also reopened. And come evening, the few hundred did grow to more than 1,000 protesters in 3 key locations, though the crowds were still much smaller than those of rallies before. The day came and went without incident, despite a warning by Hong Kong's leader that police force could be used to get the city back in order. The demonstrators have been demanding universal suffrage in Hong Kong's 2017 elections to select its chief executive, as well as the resignation of its current embattled leader, C.Y. Leung. Now, this year's Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine has been awarded to a trio of scientists who discovered how our brains help us navigate through our surroundings. A ceremony was held on Monday in Stockholm, Sweden, to award the distinguished winners $1.2 million in prize money. British-American neuroscientist John O'Keefe of the University of College London shared the award with a Norwegian scientist couple, May Britt and Edward Moser from the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. The Nobel Committee said they had worked out how our brains know where we are in space and how we store that information, as well as how we can find our way from one place to another, thus the moniker inner GPS. And this, in part at least, answers the age-old question of how our brains know our place in the world.
Thank you for enlightening us there. Now, for some new developments in our Ebola watch, Spain has seen the first known Ebola infection contracted outside of Africa in this current outbreak. This is alarming.
Right. The Spanish Health Ministry did confirm that a nursing assistant who had been part of a team to treat a Spanish priest who had contracted the hemorrhagic virus while in Sierra Leone. And unlike the priest who succumbed to the disease on September 25th, the nurse's assistant was in stable condition after testing positive to the virus. Now, she was admitted to a hospital near Madrid Monday morning with a high fever. This as U.S. officials are now considering new airport screenings in light of the country's first Ebola diagnosis. Ebola has killed more than 3,400 people in West Africa out of nearly 7,500 cases, according to figures by the World Health Organization. And that wraps your look at the global headlines we're following this morning.
And still ahead, for silky smooth skin, you've tried everything from steam baths, natural scrubs, and intense moisturizers, all to little avail. You might want to try out dry skin brushing. It's a new trend that's been catching on quickly, and it's more than just scratching the surface. Stay tuned.
Although the morning lows do start off quite cold, it seems that during the day we do actually get fair temperatures, which makes this season, the autumn season, the perfect time for these outdoor festivals that are going on. And our Yoon-hee joins us with one that's happening right now in Daeangno, and she'll tell us all about it. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. So the Daeangno area, a hot spot for performing arts, right? So the Seoul Performing Arts Festival is now calling Daeangno its home, and it's become an iconic event here in Korea, sort of a portal between Korea and the global stage. So take a look. Hundreds gather at the Daeangno Arts Theater, all in anticipation of this year's Seoul Performing Arts Festival.
I've been following this festival since last year, and this year I'm especially excited to see the many exciting performances that are lined up.
Many of the tickets are booked ahead of time to ensure entrance to the performances, some which have traveled from stages abroad. The festival attracts a range of audience members, those who may have no connection to the stage, and those who are performers themselves.
Since I am a student dancer, I have to come to see Korea's top contemporary dance performances.
Daeangno streets are always filled with the arts, but during this time of the year, it's especially festive, thanks to the Seoul Performing Arts Festival. This year's opening performance was created by internationally acclaimed German director Katie Mitchell and takes a new multimedia approach to the stage, bringing to light the issues of social injustices and wounds inflicted upon repressed women. But the festival also includes domestic performances as well, with some of Korea's top directors and performers contributing to this year's program.
The purpose of this piece is to show the Korean dance culture for those looking to learn.
Whether it be from a local company or abroad, a play or a dance, the Seoul Performing Arts Festival creates a platform for some of today's top artists to share with the world.
Wow, this is actually a pretty big festival, taking part in a very prevalent part of the culture scene over there. And how many groups are there taking part?
Right, so this festival really has been growing. It's now in its 14th year. They have 7 participating countries this year with 19 different troupes involved and 21 performances total. So you can imagine a lot of people involved, a lot of people really putting their all into this. And so you have to remember that these are some of the top performers, not only in Korea, but from around the world. And so really a neat chance to go see the different types of performances available. And also this year, they arranged everything around around this idea of surrealism versus reality. So another thing to keep in mind when you go see these performances.
Okay, getting a little bit of cliff notes or getting an idea of what exactly all that is, I think would be a good idea to understand exactly what you're going to get at the festival. So you mentioned all the performances, but it's hard to just go to every single performance, and sometimes you miss one, and sometimes you have to spend that time in between doing some other activities. What activities are offered?
So they're actually offering some parallel activities as well, some Q&As with some of the performers and some of the troops. You can go and find out what they think, what the performers, the actors think about their piece, maybe what went behind putting everything together. And so this is a chance for you to get to learn what's going on in the modern and contemporary performing arts here in Korea, and maybe what's going on in the world as well. And so Korea is considered the leading, here in Asia, is considered the leader of this modern and contemporary art movement. And so you really can see a kind of representation of what is going on.
Okay, well, sounds great. Sounds like the perfect festival if you're not going to go anywhere far from the capital, and it's right there in the heart of it all, right? All right, thank you, Uni, for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
So what do you get if you get 4 bachelors, throw them into a guest house, and put them into teams up for competition? Well, you get this, basically. We're going to go back down to Jeonju for our part 3 of this segment here. Our 4 bachelors continue their journey with a fresh mission handed down to them first thing in the morning. They begin a frantic search in Hanok Village and get a look at a historic site from centuries ago, all on their final day there, and one of them will be joining us in the studio.
Now, over the coming weekend, there will be some temporary changes to the overpass near Seoul Station.
That's right. Apparently, from noon to 4 p.m. on Sunday, the overpass will be open to pedestrians only, no cars. And for more on this story, we'll be joined by Seo Mi-sorang. Actually, we are joined by Seo Mi-sorang.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So during those 4 hours, people can walk along the overpass and see what it's like, see what the view is like, see if they like the atmosphere and so on. Now, this whole thing, it's part of Seoul city government's greater plan to convert the old overpass into an aerial greenway, much like the High Line Park in New York City, where they've converted an obsolete railway into a park. Now, Seoul plans to make this change by the year 2016, and so they're hoping that this event will not only generate public interest, but also invite feedback from the public from the pedestrian point of view.
I've driven on the overpass before, but it's quite high.
It is.
It gives you a perfect view of downtown Seoul, but wouldn't it be kind of dangerous?
Well, some sections of the overpass, like you mentioned, they're high up. They're as high as a 5-story building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and because there are no high-rises in its immediate vicinity, it definitely gives you that nice, wide-open view. And actually, if you stand at just the right spot along here, you'll be able to see as far out as the Gwanaksan Mountains.
Really?
Yeah, it's definitely a very great view.
Something to do over the weekend.
Yeah, just on Sunday. Now let's see what else people are talking about. Korea will soon join the 3050 Club next year. Now, this 3050 Club, what it refers to is countries with an annual per capita income over $30,000 and population over 50 million. So it's, in a sense, a measure of the economic power that a country has. And right now, there are only 6 other countries in this 3050 Club, and all of them are G7 member nations.
Okay, it's interesting, and it really goes to show how far our economy has come. And according to this study, does it also mention how the low birth rate might affect our future?
Well, because of that low birth rate that you mentioned, this study, they say that, a lot of experts, they predict that if our current low birth rate continues, our population will dwindle down into the 40-something million range by the year 2045.
Wow.
So if this continues, we will fall out of this 3050 Club by then.
That's down by 10 million in
that's a huge deal.
30 years.
In our lifetime.
Wow. That's alarming. Have more kids.
One.
You
want
to Okay.
Let's move on to some lighter issues. JYJ, they recently held an outdoor concert in Gangnam-gu district, and once again a huge crowd formed, this time 50,000 big, and they've joined to watch them sing and dance. And lastly, let me finish off with this very heartwarming picture over here. 5 elementary school students, they're joining hands and competing in a school race. Now, the story behind this,
The student over here on the right, he has a genetic condition that makes him a lot shorter than his peers, and he would always come last in these annual sports events. But this year, his friends, they planned a special surprise where they joined hands, kept pace with him, and crossed the finish line together.
How thoughtful of them. So sweet.
We can all learn something from the children.
For sure. Thank you, Misorang.
Thank you.
All right, that was a look at some keywords trending online this morning. Now, do you know what this is? Actually, I was going to have this prepared, but yes, this is a brush. It's not for your hair. It's apparently for your skin.
Right.
In dry brushing, it's a new trend.
So we'll have more on how the health benefits of dry skin brushing with a doctor later in the program. So stay tuned.
Our skin is one of the first things that lets us know fall is here. With the turn of season comes some unpleasant changes. The skin loses much of its moisture, making the release of toxins more difficult. This naturally makes dead skin cells more visible, and the overall complexion becomes dull and dry. So there's something that's gaining a lot of attention as a solution to this problem, and it's this brush used in what's called dry brushing. To get a better understanding of what dry brushing is, I'm visiting a skin clinic. Dry skin brushing uses a bristled brush to brush the entire body. Not only does it exfoliate dead skin, it also stimulates blood circulation, giving your complexion a healthy glow.
I feel like it has helped reduce swelling in my body. I feel more revitalized and my skin is a lot softer as well.
Having learned it's good for the body, I'm going to learn how to do it myself. Start from the parts furthest from your heart, so brush the soles of your feet first and then move on to your legs. For the arms, sweep from the fingertips to the elbow, then to the shoulder and down again. Around the stomach, brush your pelvis towards your navel and then to the pits of the stomach. If you follow the arrows when brushing, it stimulates circulation in the lymphatic system, making it more effective. So if you don't have a brush at home, can you use something else?
You can use a cotton towel at home to follow the direction of brushing, and if you can't bother with that even, you can also sweep from top to bottom.
It's simple enough for everyone to do it at home. Let's learn more about dry brushing.
All right, so we're used to the exfoliation gloves or the denities that we actually use. And that involves actually getting into the bath a little bit and then getting your skin moist. But dry brush,
something new, right?
It does feel rather, it does exfoliate. You can definitely feel it.
We do have a lot of questions regarding this brush, and Dr. Cho Sung-gyun joins us this morning to answer all of them for us. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today.
You know, I've actually never heard about dry skin brushing. Is it a recent trend or has it been there from a long time ago?
Well, actually, Scandinavians and Russians have been using this technique for over a couple centuries now. And only recently, there's a Finnish doctor named Dr. Eerola. He's been using this technique to exfoliate, stimulate, and detoxify the skin.
And I would imagine doing it in the shower, under the water, running water, would make it a little better, softer on the skin. But apparently, dry brushing is softer on the skin. Why is that?
Actually, that's a very good question. Once your body becomes wet, it causes skin to become more soft and expand. It actually makes it more difficult to remove the dead skin scales. And I have a lot of people who come to my clinic with skin problems because excessive wet exfoliation using exfoliation glove or a washcloth or loofah. So it actually causes more problems.
And it may actually take off a little bit too much. I just did a little bit here. It feels very, very smooth. But, you know, we're talking about removing the dead skin. That's exactly what exfoliation is.
Correct.
What's so important about doing that?
Oh, it's actually very important because if you have a buildup of dead skin on your body, it actually causes clogged pores. It can also cause acne and also cause more sensitive skin.
Okay, so we're going to actually take a video. We're going to take a look at a report seeing exactly how you exfoliate and what the effects are through a medical checkup as well. So we'll be back with more.
Before dry brushing, I had the skin on my arms examined, and because of the dry weather, I could see dead skin cells in certain parts. Then I took a look at my skin again after dry brushing it. Wow, can you see the difference?
It prevents toxins from gathering in pores, and it removes dead skin, making your complexion smoother. But if you use a brush that is too rigid, or if you brush too hard, it can irritate your skin and cause contact dermatitis. Also, if too much dead skin is removed, it can actually cause your skin to get drier.
This time, I wanted to look at how good it is for blood circulation. So we compare the before and after of dry brushing. It's hard to tell if there's a difference at first glance, so we use an infrared body temperature detector. The results show that when my legs were dry brushed, they had much better blood circulation.
If you brush from under your foot towards your thigh, it stimulates your lymphatic system, improving blood circulation. So if you had cold hands and feet or numbness that's caused from a lack of good circulation, it'll relieve those symptoms. Also, it releases toxins, reducing edema and also cellulite.
How about softening your skin and improving your health by trying out dry brushing?
So I believe that dry skin brushing will be more effective during autumn and winter seasons. But apart from removing dead skin and improving circulation in your body, what kind of other health benefit does it come with?
Well, actually, the physical aspect of just removing the dead skin cells actually makes the skin softer and more smoother in appearance. And also, the dry brushing actually causes stimulation of your lymphatic system, which helps with detoxification. Okay. And also the exact stimulation of your muscles, nerve endings, will cause an increase in muscle tone and redistribution of fat cells. And also it helps with hair loss because it helps unclog the hair follicles.
Oh, really? So you can do it on your scalp also.
Right. Start right
use
now.
it as a brush, just a dual purpose, right?
Actually, some people, advocates of dry brushing, believe that it helps with cellulite, but it's still up there.
Debatable.
Yeah, we got to still study that.
Okay. Well, is there a chance you could overdo it and end up damaging your skin? And how often do you have to do this?
Well, actually, if you just do light brushing, usually there's very few cases of, rash or any skin problems. So usually, in regard to your face, you should try, people with normal or to dry skin should try once or twice a week. People with oily skin can do it 3 to 4 times a week.
So the oilier, the more.
Right.
Okay. One of the things that I think people are wondering, we just saw the report, and then we did see some redness when they were at they were scrubbing the area on the stomach. What if redness occurs?
Okay, if you have slight redness, anything that's pink is actually pretty normal. It's fine. But if it becomes bright red, or you start to hurt, or you start to notice any change in sensory, then you should see a doctor or stop immediately.
And I imagine that choosing the right brush would be also important. What kind of brush do we have to choose?
That's a very important question too, because you could either choose a natural or synthetic brush. But I tell my patients to use natural bristles because it's a lot softer, it has better effects, it causes less irritation to the skin.
Okay. Just one more question. You did mention that if your skin is too dry, you can't do this as often. But what about people who cannot do it? For example, people that have excessive dry skin or other skin conditions.
Okay. I usually tell people to go see a doctor before you try to do this technique because people with eczema or excessive dry skin or atopic dermatitis, it's not recommended because it causes irritation and more problems.
Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
So the brush is for us?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off with a rather disappointing news. Now, with South Korea hosting the 61st World Military Pentathlon Championship on Wednesday, North Korea will not be participating according to organizers. Now, North Korea, who initially stated that they will send a 15-member delegation, including 10 athletes, will withdraw from the event due to injuries from some of their athletes. Organizers stated that the pentathlon is a team event and injuries suffered by even one athlete could affect the whole result. The event, which will take part in the southeastern city of Yeongcheon, will host 328 soldiers from 35 nations who will compete in rifle shooting, obstacle run, 50-meter obstacle swimming, throwing, and cross-country for 9 days. And now moving on to the South Korean national football team this time, as the team will open camp today in preparations for the upcoming friendly matches at home. And the training camp will also mark Uli Stillake's debut as the manager of the South Korean national team, as he's set to work with a full squad for the first time since being hired last month. The national team, is currently ranked 63rd in the FIFA rankings, hope to bounce back as manager Stillake looks forward to utilizing the many options, including 3 Asian Games gold medalists in Kim Seung-dae, Kim Seung-gyu, and Park Ju-ho. Meanwhile, the team is set to face off against Paraguay on Friday. And now shifting over to domestic basketball, where the 2014-2015 KBL Media Day kicked off the new season of basketball here in the nation. And with the representative players and coaches from the 10 KBL teams coming together on Monday afternoon, no one was sure who the clear favorite is this season. But with Ulsan Mobis Phoebus winning back-to-back championships, manager Yoo Jae-hak hopes to make it a three-peat this season. Meanwhile, coaches were against the idea of having both foreign players play at the same time when asked about a possible rule change allowing it to happen. Of course, the season officially tips off on Saturday with 4 games, followed by 5 games on Sunday. And as the 2014 KBO season is quickly approaching its postseason, the SK Wyverns continue to chase the 4th place spot with a 11-win victory over the Hanwha Eagles, with the Doosan Bears beating the Samsung Lions 5-1 thanks to a 4-run 11th inning. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the NC Dinos take on the LG Twins. And of course, going into the game here now, the LG Twins trying to hold on to their 4th place spot, while the NC Dinos have already clinched their playoff berth. But LG Shin Jung-rak throwing a masterpiece here, throwing a no-hitter until he's taken out after a 7 1/3 innings. Now fast forward to the top of the 9th inning here, game tied 0-0. NC's Park Min-woo with 2 men out, taps one in front of the catcher. Park Young-soo injured on the plate, but that's still ruled an error, and no-hitter still alive. Bottom of the 9th inning, men on first and second, the captain Lee Jin-young, that's the game winner, and that means a combined no-hitter, as 3 LG pitchers combined for a no-no, leading to a 1-0 LG victory. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
All right, so we had last week we had our 4 bachelors who were down in Jeonju. They had to experience several things. They took on several missions and challenges, and today we're gonna continue with that for our part 3. And I'm just loving this brush over here.
Right.
This is my favorite thing in the world.
Are you going to brush that?
I'm gonna brush our guest, Alex Segrist, who joined us today. You have to try this here. The back of your hand, it just feels so like smooth afterwards.
It's a special treatment.
And
this is supposed to you.
This will make it nice. Thank you so much.
You've been exfoliated.
I'm clean. I'm good to go. Oh no, thank you guys. It's really great to be here. I'm glad you guys could invite me here because the trip itself was absolutely amazing. I had a great time in the Hanok village, and it's something that I would certainly recommend to all my friends and would love to take them to if I have the chance. But it was a little bit busy. We had a lot to do in such a short amount of time. So why don't we go ahead and maybe take a quick look at it and see what we were able to do the next morning.
All right, let's go.
So last week, after a jagi-chagi competition for lunch at the Hanok guest house, this was really good, but unfortunately for Marco and Ivan, who lost, they had to go hungry for this one. But they did a pretty good job cooking in the dinner, so with a great response from the people on the streets, they were able to come back with a victory there.
The pasta was amazing, I hear, right?
I have to admit, it was really good.
Oh, it was good. It was actually
really good. So there was a beautiful morning in Jeonju's Hanok village, but we were woken up pretty early, actually, by the crew.
Not earlier than us on a weekday.
Clearly not. Clearly not.
Selfie with this picture. Take a selfie. Oh my god, my boy. Oh my god, so ugly.
You're not happy with that.
We're clear.
So this was something, and with this, the mad chase really begins.
이성계 어진이야.
So after getting some help from the passerby, Derek and I hurry off to the location.
They're trying to get to the palace, huh?
Well, yeah, it was really a really beautiful place. But I'm not really sure what Marco and Yvonne are up to here.
이거요?
네.
저기 이거 오른쪽 꺾어서요.
예.
그 경기장 딱 그 출입구 있거든요. 그쪽으로 가시면 들어가시면 있어요.
네.
Isn't that cheating?
오른쪽 꺾어서.
Beginning to are they not allowed to get directions?
I don't know.
Okay.
We did. We tried to.
Oh, so pretty. I think she liked me though.
Yeah,
she definitely liked me.
Marco saying that.
She was like, or blushing.
Right. Stay on track. Stay on track.
You want to really be amazed how many people blush when
because I
you
look
stick
like
a camera
Tom
in their
Cruise.
face.
Or Mr. Bean.
So as we approached the venue, the gap between the two teams actually got a little bit smaller.
First girl that we talked to said it was Lee Sung-jae's Ojin.
Is he king?
Yeah, he was
Because there's a Wang Tae-xia.
well, he was the first king of the Joseon dynasty. Right here. It says Ojin 박물관. It was the Ojin Museum. I'm not exactly sure what the Ojin is.
Eh?
So
Shoot, they came. Hurry. Just guess. Eight.
they're right over here.
Okay, right.
We just heard what they say.
They did manage to figure out where we were heading. But so who's gonna get the selfie first?
Well, following you, that's cheating too, right?
also.
Can you tackle them?
No. But they did lose focus, so we'll see what happens. And Ojin refers to a portrait of Joseon Dynasty kings, and this museum is the country's only place of its kind. It's erected to preserve the portraits related artifacts. So in it, we had portraits of King Yeongjo, Chojong, Sejong, and of course, Joseon's founding king, Lee Sung-jae.
이게 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. 이게 어디예요? This picture 저쪽 안에.
아, 오케이.
감사합니다. We found it. We found it.
No, of course not. Of course not. We're there 5 minutes to go, kind of teasing them a little bit. And we took our photo, started looking around.
And that's when they got there, huh? After all was done.
Really, it's not shown. They really did just slow down while we were running. I think they got tired.
Running out of breath.
Was the weather hot?
It was. We were all sweating at this point.
As usual.
So yeah, it was pretty obvious they were gonna lose. Yeah, being a little mean there, but
That's fine. I mean, next time you're gonna be.
They should just stick to cooking. Stay in the kitchen.
So that's the penalty.
oh yeah.
Wow.
We all got to
Cute.
dress up a little bit.
We are here.
So how did you like your
we are
queen?
the doorkeepers.
She was so nice. There's a number of events that you can do if you're a visitor there. You can try on the royal garments, dress up as a gatekeeper, and you can even participate in some of the ancestral rituals. You can decorate paper fans or tote bags. There's really a lot you can do there. Excuse me.
Yes, sir, Your Majesty.
Do you have anything you would like?
Oh yes. And for Private Marco. We're very bored here. Dance for us and sing Arirang at the same time.
This really was a lot of fun.
Hurry up! Well, they did learn the song earlier on.
Yeah, of course.
Oh. Looks like he's onto something there.
He's not bad.
Okay, now he's bad.
He kept us entertained. So while we got to experience the luxury of being royals,
okay, I don't think those moves were available back in the Joseon Dynasty.
And this is about where our 2-day trip to Jeonju slowly came to an end. The four of us visited Jeonju in search of a unique travel experience in a guest house, and we really got it. We got to enjoy the traditional beauty of a hanok house and learn some of the traditional music too with pansori. So what kind of guest house will be awaiting us next? The House of Guests brings you a different journey next week, and I'm really looking forward to showing that.
So 4 bachelors under one roof against the beautiful backdrop of a hanok village. To sum it up, how was it?
I mean, in one word, it was really amazing. To have that kind of experience, to be able to explore Jeonju. I mean, the scenery was amazing, the buildings, the atmosphere, everything about it was just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it's really the only way I can describe it.
Okay, but these guest houses over here, the traditional hanok guest houses, they don't normally have beds, and I'm pretty sure you're used to a bed. How was the whole experience of
sleeping on the
floor
with
a couple of thick blankets?
Right. Well, I'll tell you, the first time I had that experience, it was a little strange, but I've been in Korea 5 years, so eventually I got used to it. It's, you know, it's great for your back just to sleep on a hard wooden floor, and it's really nice in the winter too when you're sleeping on like the ondo.
The ondo, right?
Yeah, the nice warm heating. So the downside is when you're really tired and you want to just crash, you can't. You can't just fall in the bed. So it's.
Well, I think as you mentioned, I think it's definitely better for your back. It's like a futon, right?
Yeah, it really is. It's definitely good.
And you and Derek were one team, and Marco and Ivan were in another team, and you guys seem to win most of the competitions. Pansori, Chegichagi, and like taking that selfie. Like, what was the most memorable one for you?
Oh, I mean, they were all really fun. I mean, it was a great group to do it with, but I gotta say, me and Marco with the pansori, and I don't even know if it was the most fun.
Right?
Well, if you call it that, it was a lot of fun. I'm not even that comfortable doing that in front of friends, so off camera I was pretty nervous, but just to be able to kind of push my limits a little and learn something that's been sung for ages, the Arirang song, like it was really, definitely the most memorable of all the challenges.
And you've been in Korea for 5 years, you said, and I'm sure you've been to many other destinations in Korea. What other tourist spots that would you recommend to other foreign guests?
In Jeonju or around Korea?
Around Korea, maybe.
Everywhere. I would definitely recommend that you don't stick to what you see first in the blog. It'll just say only 2 or 3 spots, but there's so many great small cities. There's so many great beachside places, mountains. I would go out to the East Sea, you know, make sure to hit Jeju, Daejeon, try all the cities. And I think just trying to get a big variety of experiences is really the best way to experience Korea.
All right, well, sounds like you had a great time, and the next installment, we'll be looking forward to that as well.
Yes.
And Alice has a special performance of Arirang for us. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I think he just jumped out of his skin right there.
Give me that brush and
that
I'll
was
do
a good TV moment.
All right, Alex, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys. It's really an amazing experience.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Korea Today.
And enjoy your day. It will be colder in the morning, but it should warm up by the afternoon, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.